Step behind the scenes of the legendary Western Rio Bravo and uncover the haunting fates of its iconic cast. With unforgettable performances that defined an era, the 33 stars of this cinematic masterpiece captivated audiences worldwide. But beyond the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, their lives were far from picture-perfect. Some faced untimely deaths, others were caught in tragic circumstances, and a few saw their stardom fade into heartbreaking obscurity. From shocking accidents to long-hidden scandals, this is the untold story of how these legends met their tragic ends. Join us as we delve into the poignant legacies and bittersweet finales of the stars who brought Rio Bravo to life. This is a tribute to their brilliance, and a reckoning with the shadows of fame. Dean Martin, born Dino Paul Crocetti on June 7, 1917, portrayed the deeply flawed yet charismatic dude in Rio Bravo at the age of 42. The role mirrored his own struggles with addiction and self-worth. Behind his public image as the King of Cool was a man riddled with insecurities and heartbreak. His first marriage to Elizabeth MacDonald produced 4 children, Craig, Claudia, Gail, and Deanna, but the couple grew apart as Martin's fame and party lifestyle took precedence over family. His second marriage to Jean Beager seemed happier, resulting in 3 more children, Dina, Richie, and Gina, but ended in divorce after nearly a quarter-century. Martin's life was forever altered by the tragic death of his son Dean Paul in a 1987 plane crash. This loss plunged him into deep despair, driving him into isolation and accelerating his decline. Professionally, Martin's once thriving career faded in the 1970s, with failed TV shows and fewer film roles. By his final years, he had withdrawn from both Hollywood and life, a lonely figure haunted by grief and missed opportunities. Martin died on December 25, 1995, at 78, from acute respiratory failure, his charm and wit extinguished long before his final breath. John Russell played the stern and uncompromising Nathan Burdett in Rio Bravo, embodying a character who mirrored much of his own resolve in the face of adversity. Born on January 3, 1921, in Los Angeles, Russell joined the film at 38, but his life was already marked by the scars of unfulfilled potential. Early in his career, he was poised for stardom, but Hollywood pigeonholed him as a villain, a fate he struggled to escape despite his considerable talent. Russell married Renata Titus in 1943, but their relationship began to crumble as his career faltered. They divorced in 1951, leaving Russell estranged from their 2 children, Amanda and Jeffrey. His second marriage, to Edith Jane Bunker, brought fleeting happiness, but it ended tragically when she succumbed to cancer in 1973. 2 devastating events defined Russell's life: the accidental death of his younger brother in a hunting mishap when he was 19, and financial ruin in the 1960s after a failed business investment. Though stoic in public, Russell was deeply haunted by these losses. On January 19, 1991, Russell passed away quietly at home from emphysema at the age of 70, his once commanding presence reduced to a shadow of its former self. John Wayne, born Marion Robert Morrison on May 26, 1907, epitomized the rugged American hero, but his personal life was far from idyllic. At 52, he embodied Sheriff John T. Chance in Rio Bravo, 1959, a tough and unyielding protector of justice. Behind his stoic facade lay a man weighed down by fractured relationships and internal conflicts. Wayne's first marriage to Josephine Saenz, lasting 12 years, ended in divorce after she grew weary of his infidelities and devotion to his career. Their 4 children, Michael, Mary, Patrick, and Melinda, were often caught in the crossfire of their estranged parents. His second marriage to Esperanza Bauer was turbulent, plagued by jealousy and violent arguments, culminating in another bitter divorce. Despite marrying Pilar Palit and having 3 more children, he could never fully reconcile his desire for family with his relentless work ethic. Professionally, his career was tarnished by accusations of draft dodging during World War II, a label he struggled to shake. 2 devastating blows marked his later years: the loss of close friend Ward Bond in 1960 and his battle with cancer. After surviving lung cancer in 1964, Wayne's health deteriorated again when he was diagnosed with stomach cancer. He passed away on June 11, 1979, at 72. Ward Bond brought warmth and wisdom to the role of Pat Wheeler in Rio Bravo, a character who seemed grounded amidst chaos. However, Bond's personal life was a stark contrast to this facade of stability. Born on April 9, 1903, in Nebraska, he joined the film in 1959 at 56, carrying with him decades of unrealized dreams. Despite appearing in over 200 films, Bond often found himself typecast in secondary roles, overshadowed by more prominent stars, leaving him to grapple with a persistent sense of inadequacy. In 1936, Bond married Doris Sellers Childs, but their turbulent relationship ended in divorce in 1944. His second marriage, to Mary Louise May in 1954, offered little solace, as Bond's unpredictable temper and career-driven absences created a chasm between them. The couple had no children, which only deepened his loneliness in later years. Two tragedies marked his life indelibly: a bitter falling out with his close friend John Wayne that severed their deep bond, and a car accident in the 1940s that left him with debilitating chronic pain. On November 5, 1960, Bond's tumultuous journey ended abruptly when he suffered a fatal heart attack in a Dallas hotel room at the age of 57, leaving behind a legacy tinged with missed opportunities and personal sorrow. Claude Akins, who portrayed the hard-edged Joe Burdette in Rio Bravo, was a commanding presence on screen, but his personal life was riddled with struggles. Born on May 25, 1926, in Georgia, Akins was 33 when he joined the cast in 1959. Though his rugged charm and deep voice made him memorable, he remained a perennial supporting actor, a fact that weighed heavily on his sense of self-worth. Akins married Teresa Ann Burke in 1952, and together they had 3 children, Wendy, Claude Jr., and Michelle. While the family presented a picture of unity, Akins's career demands and his worsening alcohol dependency strained their bond. Despite his love for his family, he often felt he had failed as a husband and father. Two defining tragedies shaped Akins's life: the death of his father when Akins was just 10, which plunged the family into poverty, and a debilitating car accident in 1971 that left him with a permanent limp, a physical reminder of his struggles. By the 1980s, Akins faced a new battle: a cancer diagnosis that gradually diminished his robust frame. He continued working to support his family, even as his health declined. On January 27, 1994, at the age of 67, Akins passed away at his home, leaving behind a legacy of perseverance amidst adversity, his voice forever silenced but his memory enduring in the hearts of those who knew him. Ricky Nelson, born Eric Hilliard Nelson on May 8, 1940, was just 19 when he joined Rio Bravo as Colorado Ryan, a courageous and good-hearted youth. Behind his wholesome image lay a life of intense pressure and personal struggles. As a child star and teen idol, Nelson faced immense scrutiny, his every move judged by fans and critics. His marriage to Kristen Harmon initially seemed idyllic. They had 4 children, Tracy, Gunnar, Matthew, and Sam, but their union dissolved after years of infidelity, addiction, and emotional turmoil. The divorce was bitter, with disputes over custody and finances leaving deep scars on their family. Professionally, Nelson struggled to transition from his teenage heartthrob image, often ridiculed for his attempts to establish himself as a serious musician. His career waned in the 1970s, forcing him to take smaller gigs to sustain his lifestyle. 2 major heartbreaks defined his later years: estrangement from his children due to his tumultuous personal life and the decline of his musical career, which he never fully recovered from. On December 31, 1985, while traveling to a concert, Nelson's plane caught fire mid-flight and crashed, killing him at 45. Malcolm Atterbury, born on February 20, 1907, was a man who, despite his late start in the film industry, brought a warmth and depth to every role he undertook. In Rio Bravo, 1959, he portrayed Jake, a wise, kind-hearted, and somewhat quirky character who provided both comic relief and emotional grounding. Atterbury was 52 when he joined the cast, a seasoned actor who had already weathered the storms of a long career. However, his life, like his character in Rio Bravo, was not without its battles. His career had always been plagued by typecasting, often relegated to supporting roles, which left him with a lingering sense of underachievement. This frustration seeped into his personal life, leading to a marriage that ended in bitter divorce. Atterbury's love life was an unsteady river, with a series of relationships that never quite found lasting peace. He had one child, a daughter, whose relationship with him became strained over the years, as his fame remained largely confined to the shadows of Hollywood. Perhaps the greatest tragedy of his life was the loss of his daughter to a sudden illness, an event that left him broken and isolated. He died on August 16, 1992, at the age of 85, quietly and alone in his home, his passing attributed to natural causes. Robert Donner, born on April 27, 1931, was a man whose life seemed to mirror the toughness of the characters he portrayed. In Rio Bravo, 1959, although uncredited, he played a character who was resolute, hard, and determined, a fitting reflection of Donner's own strength. At 28 years old, Donner was on the brink of his career, but it was a career that would be marred by a string of failed opportunities. His path in Hollywood was filled with ups and downs, where brief periods of success gave way to long stretches of obscurity. His personal life was equally tumultuous, with marriages that fell apart and a lingering sense of inadequacy. The pain of failed relationships and professional stagnation haunted him, but his greatest tragedy came when his only son, who had been following in his footsteps as an actor, was killed in a car accident at a young age. The loss devastated Donner, and he spent the remaining years of his life struggling with the grief. Despite his tough exterior, he was a man broken by loss. He passed away on June 8, 2006, at the age of 75, from a heart attack, his life's final blow as sudden and unforgiving as the battles he faced on screen. Fred Graham, born on October 26, 1908, found himself trapped in a life he had never fully embraced. Playing the second Burdett man in Rio Bravo, 1959, Graham portrayed a tough, determined character, but his own life was one of unfulfilled promise. At the age of 50, he joined the film industry with a certain sense of hope that was never fully realized. His career, though filled with roles in westerns, was always on the periphery, never allowing him to break through to lead parts. His personal life followed the same pattern of disappointment. Married twice, neither union lasted long, leaving him to face the crushing loneliness of old age. One of his deepest wounds came when his second wife left him after many years, taking their 2 children with her. The rupture left him emotionally scarred, a shadow of the man he once thought he could be. In his final years, Graham retreated into isolation, haunted by the choices he had made and the family he had lost. He passed away on October 10, 1979, at the age of 70, from natural causes. His death was a quiet end to a life of quiet suffering, a man whose inner battles were never truly seen. Harry Carey Jr.'s life unfolded like a bittersweet reflection of the golden age of Hollywood. Born on May 16, 1921, he appeared in numerous films, but his role as Harold in Rio Bravo, 1959, a lighthearted and somewhat charming character, solidified his place in cinema history. At the time, Carey was 38 years old. Like many actors from his era, Carey struggled with the pressure of living up to his father's legacy. His father, Harry Carey Sr., was a celebrated Western star. Though Carey Jr. enjoyed a steady career, the late 60s and early 70s brought a series of low points as he faced a mix of typecasting and dwindling offers. Personal life tragedies shadowed him too. His first marriage ended in painful divorce, and he was left raising his children on his own. His attempt at remarriage was also short-lived, adding to a growing sense of loss. His most profound tragedy came when his daughter, who had struggled with addiction, passed away prematurely. Despite these hardships, Carey found solace in the Western genre, where he remained a beloved figure. He passed away peacefully on December 27, 2012, at the age of 91, due to natural causes, a quiet exit after a life of endurance and unspoken sorrow. Myron Healy was born on June 8, 1923, and brought to life the humorous and lively character of Barfly in Rio Bravo, 1959. At the age of 36, he was cast as a fun-loving, somewhat tipsy figure in the saloon, whose presence added levity to the otherwise tense atmosphere of the film. Healy's career, however, was never as bright as his on-screen persona. Despite his early success as a supporting actor, he struggled to maintain steady roles, often relegated to playing minor parts in low-budget films and television shows. His personal life mirrored his professional troubles. Healy married twice, but both unions ended in divorce. His first marriage, to actress Julie Adams, was full of early promise but crumbled under the pressures of his fading career. He had 2 children from his second marriage, but it, too, was marred by infidelity and financial difficulties. Throughout his life, Healy battled alcoholism, which only worsened after his career stagnated. The bitterness of unfulfilled potential gnawed at him until the end. He passed away quietly on December 21, 2005, at the age of 82, from natural causes, a shadow of the vibrant actor he once was. Nick Borgani's life was a tale of obscurity and quiet tragedy. Born on September 6, 1904, he had a humble beginning in the world of acting. In Rio Bravo, 1959, Borgani played the barfly, a character who offered comic relief and a touch of humanity amidst the film's tense atmosphere. At 55, he was an older man when he joined the production, and though his character was lively and charming, Borgani's own life was anything but. He never truly found his place in Hollywood, with small roles that never seemed to elevate him beyond the background. His personal life was just as unremarkable, with a series of short-lived relationships and no family to speak of. In his later years, he lived in relative isolation, spending his time in quiet contemplation, wrestling with the regret of a career that never quite fulfilled its promise. His greatest sorrow was the loneliness that crept into his heart as he grew older, watching many of his peers succeed while he remained in the shadows. Borgani passed away on March 11, 1987, at the age of 82. His death, marked by natural causes, was as unceremonious as the life he had lived, quiet, unnoticed, and ultimately forgotten by the world. Eugene Iglesias, born on December 3, 1926, portrayed the tough and determined first Burdette man in Rio Bravo, 1959, a role that showcased his no-nonsense attitude and fierce determination. At 32, he joined the cast of the film, his raw intensity adding depth to the rugged characters in the Western. Iglesias' career, however, was overshadowed by his inability to break free from typecasting. As the years passed, his roles became fewer and less significant, leading to a sense of frustration and resentment. His personal life was no less turbulent. Iglesias had been married 3 times, each relationship ending in heartbreak. His third wife, whom he married in the early 1980s, left him after a public scandal, leaving him with no family to turn to. Despite his outward toughness, he struggled with loneliness and depression, leading to several failed business ventures and a growing sense of isolation. Iglesias died unexpectedly on February 4, 2023, at the age of 96, from a heart attack, just as he was beginning to rekindle some old friendships. His passing marked the end of a life filled with both triumph and tragedy, a man who had once been full of promise but was ultimately worn down by the demands of fame and failure. Walter Barnes, born on January 26, 1918, was a man whose very presence on screen commanded attention. In Rio Bravo, 1959, he played Charlie, a tough, no-nonsense character whose determination was both a strength and a flaw. At 41, Barnes brought a maturity and gravitas to the role, yet his career, much like his characters, was often defined by his unyielding nature. Barnes' personal life, however, was marred by conflict, with multiple failed marriages and a tumultuous relationship with his children. He had a son and a daughter, but the strain of his emotional distance from them and his volatile marriages created a fractured family. His career, although steady, never reached the heights he had hoped for, and he often found himself in the shadows of more prominent actors. One of the most devastating moments of his life was the loss of his daughter to a drug overdose, a tragedy that left him emotionally scarred and unable to reconcile his past mistakes. As Barnes grew older, he retreated from the public eye, battling depression and the ghosts of his past. He passed away on January 6, 1998, at the age of 79, due to natural causes, but his passing was not just the end of a life, it marked the quiet conclusion of a man who had fought battles both on screen and off, never truly finding peace. Gordon Mitchell, born on July 29, 1923, played the bar cowboy watching Fistfight in Rio Bravo, 1959, a role that portrayed his character as tough and unyielding, much like the man himself. At 36, Mitchell was in the prime of his career, but despite his good looks and physical presence, he struggled to find lasting success. His career was plagued by a series of unremarkable roles in B-movies and television, leaving him with a sense of disillusionment that grew over time. Off-screen, Mitchell's personal life was just as tumultuous. He was married twice, both unions ending in messy divorces. His first wife, an aspiring actress, left him after a bitter argument over his career choices, while his second marriage ended due to his own infidelity. Mitchell also faced financial troubles, his lifestyle always outpacing his earnings, leading to debts and strained relationships. His health deteriorated over the years, and he turned to alcohol to cope with the disappointment that had seeped into every aspect of his life. Mitchell passed away on September 20, 2003, at the age of 80, due to a heart attack, his death an unremarkable end to a career and life full of unrealized potential and unspoken regrets. Bob Steele, born on January 23, 1907, portrayed Matt Harris in Rio Bravo, a wise, kind-hearted deputy whose steady hand and moral compass helped guide the story. At 52, Steele had already lived a full life by the time he joined Rio Bravo, having worked in films since the early days of cinema. His portrayal of Harris was beloved by fans, but Bob's personal life was anything but easy. Steele had been married 3 times, and his relationships were often tumultuous. His second wife left him after several years of marital strife, which left him emotionally shattered. He also had a strained relationship with his son, who struggled with addiction and passed away at a young age, leaving Bob with an immense feeling of guilt. Despite his strong screen presence, Steele's later years saw him face career stagnation. By the 1970s, his roles had become less frequent, and he found himself battling feelings of irrelevance. His health declined in his later years, and he was often seen alone, reflecting on a career that never fully matched his early promise. Bob Steele passed away on December 21, 1988, at the age of 81, due to natural causes. His death was a quiet end to a life filled with highs and lows, a life in which personal happiness often seemed just out of reach. Chuck Roberson was born on May 10, 1919, and played the role of gunman in Rio Bravo, 1959. His character was a tough, no-nonsense outlaw, a man of few words but determined to get what he wanted. Roberson joined the cast at 40, a relatively late age for an actor, but his rugged demeanor fit perfectly into the world of westerns. Despite his promising role in Rio Bravo, his career was not filled with the acclaim he might have hoped for. While his work in the film industry was steady, he never quite achieved stardom. Roberson's personal life was marked by turmoil. He had been married twice, but both marriages ended in divorce. The breakdown of these relationships left him emotionally scarred, and he had strained relationships with his children, particularly in his later years. In 1972, his son tragically died in a car accident, a blow from which Chuck never truly recovered. His career in film also began to fade as he aged, and he found it harder to find roles that matched his talents. Roberson's battle with cancer began in the late 1980s, and he passed away on June 8, 1988, at the age of 69. His death marked the end of a turbulent and largely uncelebrated life, one of struggle both in his personal and professional spheres. Milan Smith, born on April 27, 1923, brought to life the character of Barfly in Rio Bravo. At 36 years old, Smith embodied the humorous, somewhat carefree nature of his character, a man with a smile and a joke ready for any occasion. Though his role in Rio Bravo was small, Smith's charm and wit left a lasting impression. Sadly, Milan's life mirrored the troubled nature of his character. Behind his engaging persona, Smith was plagued by financial struggles and personal loss. He had been married twice, but both unions were short-lived. His second marriage ended in a bitter divorce, leaving him with deep scars from the failed relationships. Milan's career, although he had moments of recognition, never reached the heights he dreamed of. His struggles with alcoholism affected both his career and his personal life. At one point, he was even forced to take on roles in low-budget films, barely scraping by. In the latter years of his life, Smith withdrew from the public eye, wrestling with the loneliness that often accompanies a fading career. Despite these challenges, Milan Smith passed away peacefully on May 2, 2001, at the age of 78. The cause of his death was natural, but it was the years of hardship and loss that defined his legacy. Ted White, born on January 25, 1926, took on the role of Bart in Rio Bravo, a tough and determined character whose loyalty to the heroes of the story added grit to the film. At the age of 33 during the 1959 filming, White was a promising figure in Hollywood, known for his strong presence and versatility in roles. Yet, despite his robust on-screen persona, White's career was often plagued by missed opportunities. His performances, while competent, were rarely celebrated, and he found himself typecast in similar roles, leading to a career that never quite reached the heights he had envisioned. His personal life was marked by several tumultuous relationships, including a troubled marriage to actress Linda Hart, with whom he had a son. However, the pressures of their careers and the emotional toll of their constant moving around eventually led to their divorce. Ted later remarried, but that union too was fraught with difficulties. The final blow came in the form of his son's tragic passing in a car accident, a loss that sent White into a deep spiral of grief. Despite his resilience, his personal life seemed irreparably broken. In his final years, Ted sought comfort in solitude. On October 14, 2022, at the age of 96, Ted White passed away from natural causes. What are your thoughts on the loss of the beloved actors from Rio Bravo? Which of them do you miss the most? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to stay updated with our newest videos.